welcome to Schulte Sweetie's Homeschool YouTube channel. My name is Stephanie and I'm a mom of 3 girls ages 12, 9, and 6. So I thought today would be a good day to share how our year went using Apologia Math. We have had quite a math journey. Actually, I'll make another video of that, of all the things that we have used over time with math. But this last year or so, we have switched over to Apologia, and I wanted to do a end of the year video because I really actually did videos on both of these levels like almost a year ago. So I was mainly flipping through. We hadn't used them a ton. I was showing you what they were like, but now I want to show you my experience and some of our favorite things. So I have Math 3 that we used for my 3rd grader who is 9. We actually started this when she was 8. So we actually started this the end of the year, 2nd grade, but it was like we had like a week or 2 left, so we were not very far into it, and then we continued on and finished it this school year. That was one thing. I was like, we are finishing that up this year. Then it was pretty early on in the fall semester. We had been using a different math curriculum with my youngest daughter, and I just felt like she struggles with like speech and a little bit of phonics, but math is her jam. And I thought, kindergarten level math, she was bored, and I was bored teaching it to her because she just knew it. She could easily figure it out and everything. So I looked on Apologia's website and looked at level 1, and we got level 1 math for her. She is not finished with this. She's over halfway done. I do sometimes slow down if it seems just like a little bit too heavy. We slow down and we do some other work. Like lately we've been doing some calendar work or like learning clocks and things. So I just kind of do like little printables with that. But this is what her main math has been this school year, and it has gone great. And like I said, most of the concepts she was able to do. I looked ahead and I was like, yeah, she can do that. We have had really no issues. The biggest issue was like her not wanting to write the answers down, so I would help her write them if she gave them to me. So halfway finished, over halfway finished with level 1, all the way finished with level 3. And how did it go? I have notes here so I don't forget things, but the one thing that a lot of people are worried about, because this is a mastery-based curriculum, is keeping up with like reviewing other items. So in this teacher's guide, you do need the teacher's guide, and you have a schedule. And so it tells you when you're working on a certain chapter and lesson, what skill you should be working on. There's like skill practice, estimating with 2-digit numbers. There's adding numbers. This one has division and multiplication and telling time in here. So there's all sorts of practice that you can do for skills. I will admit we did slack, especially towards the end of the school year, on these. My plan is this summer to really work hard on those skills that we did not do and really focus on them. But when you are sticking with the schedule, they are getting the review that they need on those subjects. So that is helpful. And one of the things that is helpful when you get the kit, the teacher's guide and the student workbook, there is a code in here to put online on the Apologia website, and you have access to online resources. So it has these printables in the back that you would need that you could just print off yourself on your computer, so you don't have to tear them out. Or they also have lots of worksheets, lots of little game suggestions, some websites and things that you can like print off or use to help with these skills. So that is so helpful. One thing I should have done, but I didn't do, was just print off a bunch of those things ahead of time. So we would just have those ready to go and easily do those at the beginning. I did at the end like have one of those like multiplication kind of times tests, and I just like, okay, do this one, and that was really helpful with her really practicing the multiplication. So a couple of things that we loved besides like the online platform that has a lot of printables, you don't have to go searching for them. I loved that. We loved the hands-on games. So I'm going to show you some of the hands-on games. So this one is such a cute one. This was we actually used like a sample page, and I showed this to her and she fell in love with it. It's just a little guess the digit game. We played this throughout the year. I even like created my own little pages for this so we could guess the digit, and we had like the whole family doing this. It was such a fun, easy, simple game, and we all loved it. So we had that. We had, oh my goodness, there was Battleship, multiplication Battleship. I can't even find it in here right now. A lot of times you're playing games with Uno cards, doing some of the work with Uno cards. One of the things with the manipulatives, you don't need a ton. Like Uno cards, base 10 blocks are pretty nice to have. I've been using them a lot with level 1. Unifix cubes as well. And then just like beads or pipe cleaners we used multiple times, toothpicks we used. There were very few things that we actually had to go like searching for in this curriculum this year. This one has you using Play-Doh and making some arrays with Play-Doh. My daughter loved that. They have some coloring pages, like color by number in here. We did some fun hands-on activities in here for learning about just standard units for cooking and things like that, pint, gallon, and all that. And then one of my favorite things as well, there's a couple of things in here. They had her making like a bird sanctuary for a unit project at the end, and it was so fun. I love that there are unit projects in here throughout. This one was kind of doing perimeter and area for different things, so that was a review for that project. But then we also had ones where she was making a lemonade stand. There was something about like soccer team and jersey and making like a whole little booklet for it. So there were several different things that she got to do for different projects throughout to review the concepts learned. Another thing was they do have review pages, usually right before the projects, toward the end of the chapter. And so they go back through like some of the concepts learned, and it's just one quick page. So we loved that. Let's see, I'm just kind of, I don't usually show my daughter's work, but she's all done with this, so I'm going to show you. So the pages, the worksheets are like very simple, not congested with lots of pictures or lots of problems. It has a good amount of problems, and then you figure out if the child knows the concept or not. So this is one of the practice pages, and this was after already doing an activity and doing the lesson. So the activity is usually what teaches the concept or reviews a concept from previous, and then you're doing just a short lesson. This is usually about how long the lessons are. Very short. Sometimes slightly longer, but usually that's the length. And then this is her worksheet. So that was a whole lesson. Now the next lesson is very similar. Activity, a little bit of a lesson, and then a worksheet. So every once in a while you might have a little more worksheets, but for the most part, at least in level 3, there were not very many days where she had more than one worksheet. But usually the activity is what really taught the concept and really helped them grasp what was going on. So that was level 3. We really liked it. Oh, one other thing I do like, they have kind of themed the math books kind of similar to their science books. So this is like the flying creations. And I think this one is about space. So some of the pictures and things are a little bit about space. Like there's a little spaceship, rocket ships in here throughout the book. One of the things I didn't point out in level 3, but each level does have this at the beginning of each unit, I think, into the units. They do have like a little introduction, and this is where you're really gonna hear about God. So if you are not Christian and don't want this, or even if you are Christian and just don't want to read it, we didn't always read it because sometimes it was like, I only have so much time to get a math lesson done. I don't have a lot of extra time to read this stuff that maybe isn't about the math lesson. So we didn't always read it. But there's just a little bit, it's like front and back usually, introducing kind of like the concept a little bit, but there was nothing in there that you had to read in order to understand it. Like you could go without. There were a few other things like I just saw in here. This was the perfect timing for them to add this in, 10 rules to live by. So the 10 commandments are in here. But there's really not a whole lot. I mean, it's math. You can't really make it like very religious. So a few of the things that we liked in here. So one of the first lessons, she was making numbers with the pipe cleaners. So this did start out very simple, like with numbers. It did pick up, like it has picked up, and I will show you kind of where she has ended up. Another one they had, you needed some cups to put in M&Ms in here. It said beans, goldfish, crackers, or any other small chips. This one has M&Ms on it. So she had some fun. Like I said, she didn't always like writing and drawing, but this was like a dot to dot that she did. Starting off pretty simple. So her first project was to create a collage of numbers. So it was a number collage. She loved this. I can't remember where I put her poster, but she cut out different things that maybe it was like 6 of something or the number 6 or something. So she cut those out and pasted those on a big poster board, and it was really fun. And like even her sisters were down here like helping her and making their own collages and things. They loved that. So that was a really fun project. So we continue on. Like some of these pages, I will say, did have a little bit more. So they have like word problems, so they had more pages, and that was hard. Sometimes I did have to break up some of the pages in here if it had too many extra sheets. There weren't a lot of lessons that were like that, but there were a few. So I was just prepared to like, okay, we'll do this worksheet and then we'll do the next one tomorrow. So this is one, building Legos, and we used, you could use Legos, Unifix cubes and stuff like that. So there's word problems, you're drawing, you're writing out numbers. They did like base 10 squares a lot, 10 frames. They have more, like you need cups a lot. So there's another activity. So they teach the lesson through the activity, and then you're going through, this was teaching the number line. So we did this activity, teaching the number line, and then she went through doing the number line. They did fact families in here. They started working on fact families. One of the things that they did was they had the 100, this was a 120 chart, she filled it in, but on this side, I thought this was kind of fun. They would find the number, and then they would have to do up above, to the side, down below, and in front of. So, so 10 less, 10 more, 1 less, 1 more. So that was kind of a fun thing. I didn't make her do them all because it was kind of getting a little bit old. So I will show you where she is now. She is finishing up her kindergarten year. Technically, this is her second kindergarten year, but what we kind of have stopped at, she's gone through lesson 70 out of 102 lessons. That doesn't necessarily include like the reviews or the projects and things. So 102 total lessons. She has ended at 71, and this is adding and using base 10 blocks. This is like play the cash-in game. They have lots of games. So basically they're doing double digit adding, like there's 65 plus 3 and how you add that in. So here would be her worksheet that she would be doing next. So this is what she is at now, and I feel like for going into first grade and already doing this skill, I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where she is. In this, they do have clockwork, so they are learning about the clock. I have been also kind of working on that skill just because it's an important skill, and she's already learned some of it anyways. So I am going to go back. There is measurement and different things, comparing containers. I'm going to go back to the table of contents here, and also I didn't point out that this does have the teacher's guide with the schedule. Let me show you some pages of the schedule, as well as extra printables in the back, and answers. Both the teacher's guides do have answers. Definitely still colorful. Ours is kind of a little worse for the wear here, but you can print these things out from the online, or you can just tear these out. I will say one of my biggest complaints is that both of my levels 1 and 3, at least from a year ago, don't have perforation on these pages to tear out, and my pages were always so messy and didn't look great. But I have level 4 already, and it is perforated, so I'm happy. So some of the things, I know that this is something that people are always wondering about for the table of contents. You can find the table of contents online on Apologia's website. Usually even like Christian Book and things that sell it will also have the table of contents, but I'm here, I'll share it with you. So for level 1, and I will go ahead and share level 3 after this. Level 1 is chapter 1. It has the numbers 1 through 10. Then chapter 2 is the numbers 0 through 20. Chapter 3 is addition. Chapter 4 is finding different ways to make sums. You're adding different numbers to make sums. Unit 2 starts out with addition and subtraction. Chapter 5 says subtraction. Chapter 6 is addition up to 20. Chapter 7 is subtraction up to 20. And chapter 8 is addition and subtraction are related, so like the fact families and things. Unit 3 is place value, so you're introducing place value. It was so easy to introduce it with the base 10 blocks too. And I was like prepared for my daughter not to understand it, and she just like, yeah, like she understood it right away. I was like, okay. So chapter 9 is numbers up to 120. Chapter 10 is comparing numbers. Chapter 11 is adding 2-digit numbers. Unit 4, so chapter 12 is measurement, and that's where you're going to have ordering the links, ordering capacity, measuring capacity, telling time to the hour, telling time to the half hour. And then chapter 13 is data and graphs. That includes tally marks, picture graphs, bar graphs, and those things. There is like an M&M experiment in that chapter too. Unit 5 has geometry, and that's going to be 3D shapes. Chapter 14 was 3D shapes, and chapter 15 is shapes. And you're doing like equal and unequal and those type of things, halves, fourths. So they're even introducing halves and fourths in first level 1. So that is all of the table of contents. So there are things in here you might think, okay, money, is it not in here? It's probably not being taught as a lesson. So that might be something that you might want to like work on your own. I do think it is in maybe level 2. We have not done level 2, but I'm pretty sure that money is in level 2. You know, Dollar Tree has little money and time books. You could get one of those to work on in the summer or as an extra review. These lessons don't take that long, so like to add in a little extra review would not be a big deal. So you could do that. You could get out play money and work on that on your own. We have this game called Money Bags that my girls like to play, and that really helps them figure out money and change and things. So the table of contents for level 3 that I didn't tell you yet are in here. Okay, so level 3 has chapter 1 is numbers to 1,000. Chapter 2 is adding and subtracting within 1,000. Chapter 3 is introduction to multiplication. Chapter 4 is multiplication facts and practice. Chapter 5 is introduction to division. And chapter 6 is division facts and practice. I really liked how they did that, like teaching multiplication first and trying to get a good grasp on that, and then teaching division, not teaching it all at one time. We've had issues with that. Chapter 7 is data and measurement. This is like where you got picture graphs, line graphs. There is some time in here. There was time to the minute, time intervals, and then we have like liquid volume and liters, weight, that type of thing. Chapter 8 is more multiplication, so they go back to multiplication because they have learned facts previously. They learned multiplying 2, 10, 5, 3, and 4. So like the pretty easy ones. So then when they go back to it in chapter 8, they're learning 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's what they're working on in chapter 8. In chapter 9 is more division, so you're working on the division facts of those. I loved you worked on those in one chapter, and then the next chapter you worked on the opposite, the division. So then chapter 10 is introduction to fractions, and we spent a good time on fractions. I had these little fraction manipulatives, and those really helped a lot to get the concept apart, and she loved playing with those. Then we have compare fractions, so they had a good amount of time. That was chapter 11 of comparing fractions, and it seemed pretty easy to understand for them to compare the fractions. It wasn't, you know, changing them up too much, but it was a great way to introduce comparing the fractions. Geometry, we have perimeter and area in chapter 12. And then in chapter 13, you have polygons. And this would be where you're learning the like triangles, quadrilaterals, right angles. They learned right angles and different types of angles too. So that is level 3 of Apologia Math and what all was in it. I really have no complaints. And the big question is, are we going to use this again? Yes. So we are putting the level 3 to the side. I hate to get rid of it because she worked so hard on this. Like, you know, handwriting, you're like, oh, it's okay, you can toss it, but like this was like blood, sweat, and tears. So we'll probably keep it for a little bit. But honestly, like I'm probably gonna get a whole new teacher's guide because of the printables and everything as well. Although I could print them off of the website. So I have to think about that. This wasn't very costly either. So we are moving on to level 4 for my soon-to-be 4th grader. We already have that. It looks awesome, just like these did. So we're gonna move on to that next year. And then for my 1st grader next year, she's gonna continue level 1, and then we will move on to level 2. I haven't purchased it yet. I have a feeling, I mean, she should be done with this pretty early on in fall semester. We'll see, like, you know how the days go. I would assume for sure before Christmas time. So then we will move on to level 2. I still have to purchase that, but that is coming. And we are really happy with this program. So let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Let me know if you have any questions as well. I hope you have a great day.